This is the James Golden Show with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Welcome, my friends, to the Saturday Morning Vibe. I am Bo Snerdley, James Golden, with you. 800-848-9222 is the number to call if you want to reach us for today's program. 800-848-9222. Happy to take your calls. We've got a lot to do today. Of course, we are closing in on the elections. And things, well, are getting heated out there. As you know, former President Obama weighed in, lecturing black men on how they should vote. He descended from Mount Olympus, Hawaii, to tell the serfs how to behave and meet his expectations. There is considerable pushback, and we'll get to some of that today. Also, many people across the country are still reeling from the natural disasters that have afflicted our nation in the past 3 weeks. North Carolina residents, you are not forgotten in all of this. Florida, of course, got slammed with a hurricane this week. In fact, Princess Di will not be here today. Somewhat related. So we can talk about any of those things. The administration continues to say that people who are still without the services they need are pretty much liars, that they've done everything and it's all misinformation. That seems to be any story they don't like these days. It's misinformation or disinformation. In the state of Virginia, my friends, your Department of Justice has filed suit. They are saying that the Commonwealth of Virginia has removed non-citizens from the voting rolls too close to Election Day. I want to make sure you get that and understand. Make sure, no, you're not mishearing that. That is what the lawsuit is. The U.S. Department of Justice is suing Virginia, alleging that the Commonwealth removed non-citizens from its voter rolls too close to Election Day. The complaint alleges that the State Board of Elections and Virginia's Commissioner of Elections, Susan Beals, violated the Federal National Voter Registration Act, which mandates that states must complete their maintenance programs no later than 90 days before an election under a clause known as the quiet period provision. I should rename this clause. The Democrats want you to be quiet about their... Okay. The agency alleges that Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin violated the act when announcing and subsequently carrying out an executive order which required the elections commissioner to regularly update the state's voter list to remove any individual that has been identified as a non-citizen and has not responded to a request from the state to verify their citizenship within 14 days. Now, under that executive order, Virginia went ahead and removed 6,303 individuals who are non-citizens from the voting rolls. And now Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, Merrick Garland, are outraged. They are suing Virginia, demanding that these non-citizens be allowed to vote. Everything that Democrats and their flunky allies in the mainstream press has been telling you about this entire issue of non-citizens voting is wrong. You think 6,000 people don't make a difference in an election? Of course, let's be honest, as we always are, 6,000 people, when you're talking about millions of votes, in many cases will not make a difference. However, there are local races that are very often decided, in some cases, by as few as 1, 2, 3 votes. Yes, they make a difference. The fact of the matter is that non-citizens should not be on America's voting rolls to begin with. There's no other country that I am aware of on the face of this earth that will allow someone to come from another country who is not a citizen and then take part in their elections, electing their government. It just doesn't happen. But Americans, we're supposed to put up with this insane stupidity in the name of some Democrat notion of compassion, but it's not really compassion. There's something more nefarious going on here, and you know what it is. It is outrageous. And the idea that now that the agency tasked with securing America's laws is actually suing a sovereign state of this nation to force them to allow non-citizens to vote in a federal election. It is unbelievable, almost. While we're on the topic, and I'm going to get to this Obama, believe me, I'm going to get to this business very shortly. But I just want to point out 2 other things really quickly, or 3. There's a story in today's AP, Associated Press wires. Data shows migrants aren't taking black jobs or Hispanic jobs, despite what Trump says. Really? Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump promises the biggest deportation event the U.S. has ever seen if he's elected. A promise he's on part of the notion that immigrants are here and stealing what he calls black and Hispanic jobs. But government data show immigrant labor contributes to economic growth and provides promotional opportunity for native-born workers. Now, I'm not going to go into all the data because it's meaningless to me. The idea that somehow or another we allow, or Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have allowed 12 million illegal immigrants into this country, and you have a major news organization coming up with some propaganda piece about data showing that there's no impact on jobs is ludicrous. I'm not even going to buy into the premise of it. The premise makes no sense, regardless of whatever data they want to weave into a narrative. And you can find the same sort of thing happening, not just the AP, New York Times. Lengthy story, I have it. Trump blames immigrant surge for housing crisis. Most economists disagree. What's wrong with that headline? Well, there's one thing that stands out glaringly for me. Most economists disagree. Do you honestly think, ladies and gentlemen, that the New York Times did a survey of all of the economists in the world, and then from the survey that they came up with, the economists decided what most of them think? Of course not. Most of the economists they handpicked to talk to may disagree, but that's quite a different statement than most economists disagree. So the bottom line on this one, former President Donald J. Trump and his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, regularly blame America's housing affordability crisis on a recent surge in immigration. They point to their plans for mass deportations of undocumented workers as part of the solution. So the bottom line for this story, if you go through all 9 pages of it, is that, look, if we get rid of the immigrants, who's going to build the houses? They're going to make the housing crisis worse. And the numbers that they cite here for illegal immigrants are way off the mark. I think they cited something like 2 or 3 million. I'll have to go back and dig into the story again. But the fact of the matter is we've had over 12 million illegal entries on top of the illegal immigrants that were already here. You cannot tell me in a nation that has perhaps as upward of 32 million illegal immigrants, 32 million, that if we did not have 32 million immigrants, the housing market would be unaffected. You can't tell me that. It doesn't make sense. But again, this is the kind of propaganda we're expected to buy their premise, all in support, by the way, both the AP and the New York Times, all in support of illegal immigration. And making sure that Donald Trump does not actually bring this illegal immigration crisis to a close, which would hurt the Democrat Party. And why would it hurt the Democrat Party? Well. Answer that question, and you've answered a lot of what's going on in America today and what's going wrong. James Golden, a.k.a. Snerdley. On this day, October 12th, 1965, the Beatles began recording their 6th album, Rubber Soul. New takes on this one of my favorite songs from the Beatles, Norwegian Wood. The Bird Has Flown. They also recorded Run for Your Life. James Golden, Snerdley, 800-848-9222. Keep it right here. Do not go away.
I sat on the rug, biding my time, drinking her wine. We talked until 2, and then she said, it's time for bed.
This is the James Golden Show. James Golden Show. 4 words that mean business. With James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
The Australian rock band. What do you call them, Carlos? INXS? That would be, right? In excess, right?
INXS. Those were the letters. I just read them.
Yeah, in excess. They released Kick, their most successful studio album, on this day back in 1987. This is from that album, Never Tear Us Apart. They had 4 top 10 singles from it. New Sensation, this one, Devil Inside, and Need You Tonight. This album has done very well for them. Over 20 million copies sold. In excess, with Bo Snerdley, James Golden. Yes. So, this is where we are, my friends. The Obama rant on black men we are going to get to. If I do it now, I will never get to some of the other stuff I want to talk about and get to today. So, before we launch into that, I want to briefly revisit Kamala Harris's 60 Minutes deal. 60 Minutes is taking a lot of, CBS Network is taking a lot of flack. They had this interview with Mr. Coates. Yes. And that went up in flames. There's a whole internal CBS argument about whether he was questioned too harshly on his pro-Palestinian views. They had him on the Interview in the Morning show. That thing has blown up to all proportions. But then Kamala Harris went on 60 Minutes, and this is the one. She was asked the question. They played her nonsensical answer on the web. It showed up. But then when they actually aired the interview, the answer to the question was different. The Trump campaign picked off on her. They put the two side by side. So we're going to just play the two side by side so you can hear the difference with what Kamala said, which was first released, the first go round, and then what CBS aired. And there is a firestorm over this. Donald Trump is calling for CBS as a network to have their license taken away from them. Let's listen in and hear it.
But it seems
Cut
that
number one.
Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not
That was
listening.
the first one.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Now, both of those answers are a little bit incoherent, but the first one is worse. Play it one more time now that you got it, and let's listen to the. You tell me what this woman is babbling on about with the answer to the question the first go round. Go ahead.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Good grief. Yes, you have a question, Carlos. Yes.
I have an observation.
Observation, okay.
I feel like the first one is more on the spot, whereas he caught her on the spot.
More on what spot?
Like on the spotlight, she was let me find the answer. Whereas the second one was already rehearsed or whatever, because it sounds more. I know what I'm talking about, even though I don't get it, but she might.
You don't know what she's talking about, but you think she knows what she's talking about.
She has to, because like if she
no,
doesn't
she
know
doesn't.
what she's talking about, like.
Well, there you have it. The two side by side, and CBS, as I said, network is coming under fire. Now, there was also a town hall. Let's go to soundbite number 3 with Kamala Harris and what she wants from illegal immigration. Go ahead.
So my pledge to you is that by the grace of God and hopefully with your support as well, when I am elected president, I will bring back that border security bill and I will sign it into law and do the work of focusing on what we must do to have an orderly and humane pathway to earn citizenship. And one of the biggest problems with failure to have a comprehensive plan for immigration is that we have not given them the pathway to earn their right to citizenship. And that is, again, that is one of the priorities for me, frankly, in terms of my motivation for what I know we must do. And I think it should compel us to agree they should not have to live in fear, but should have an ability to be on a pathway to earn their citizenship. So it is one of my priorities.
There is a pathway to citizenship. It's called follow the law. The pathway's been laid out ages ago. We're coming back. Your call's coming up, 800-848-9222. Keep it right here. James Golden, Bo Snerdley with you. The Saturday Morning Vibe continues.
The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Wait a minute, baby. Stay with me.
1979.
Said you give me life.
Fleetwood Mac releases the album Tusk. It's a double album. Took them a long time to record this one, and they spent about $1 million recording this album, which was, even in those days, almost unheard of. Anyway, it did produce 2 top 10 singles. Sarah, we're playing now, is one of them, and the album went platinum, so at least it wasn't a big loss for them. It was a success. James Golden, a.k.a. Snerdley. I'll tell you what we're going to do, Carlos. Let's step away from Kamala Harris for a minute, because we're going to talk about her a lot. I want to head to Chicago. Chicago's broke. They've been spending billions on illegal immigration, dealing with the crime problem that never goes away, the school problem. In fact, the mayor there, the entire school board that he had resigned because he wants to give so much money to teachers' unions, to the Chicago Teachers Union, that even the board that he handpicked said, this is irresponsible, we don't want any part of this. They resigned, so now he's got to pick a new board that hopefully will pay off the teachers' union with what they want. Anyway, the city's in desperate financial situation. The mayor had a press conference, Brandon Johnson. This guy is a piece of work. This is the guy that spent $30,000 on his makeup, so that he can. Yeah, he spends $30,000 on makeup. In the budget, so that he can always go out looking like he's made up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So listen to this question from reporter about the lavish spending to remodel his wife's office. Let's listen in. It's cut number 5.
The role of the First Lady in your administration, and how do we justify spending upwards of $80,000 to redecorate an office for her and staff in our current financial situation?
So the Cultural Center has always been a location for dignitaries. Every First Lady has had office space, there. Renovations for my office or any other office is standard procedure.
Standard procedure.
And
$80,000.
Our commitment to invest in people is still our commitment.
Is there any concern about optics of spending $4,000 on a desk or $4,000 in club chairs at a time when the city is in this sort of budget hole?
Yeah, the purchase of a desk is not going to change the financial structural damage that has been in place for a very long time. So this is why we ask, and I mean this respectfully, we ask far more profound questions than that. We ask, how do we make sure that the structural damage that's been created over the course of decades, that we reroute the rivers, if you will, to make sure that it gets to the places where there's dry land. And that's what we're doing.
What the?
Respectfully, sir, the question wasn't necessarily about just the dollar amount, but about the optics of that. We just had a very contentious council meeting, so I'm just wondering if you're concerned about that optics.
So I've been mayor for 17 months, and you have a question about how I feel about optics? Just go back and review the tape. If I were to allow my leadership to be based on someone's opinion of me, it would be a derelict of duty. I never question my position to invest in people. I don't do this for optics.
This guy is folks, this is a Democrat. He spends, thousands and thousands of dollars on a desk for his wife at a time when the city is under a budget crunch. He spends $80,000 to renovate her office, to make it look nice and spanking brand new the way she wants it, on taxpayer dime, and he's complaining, well, we ask, why should I have to denigrate myself? This isn't a profound question on how I spend money. We don't care about a desk. I can spend $7-8 grand on a desk. We have structural problems with the budget, and doesn't even think that this is the way that they got there, by spending money extravagantly, wasting taxpayer money. This guy is beyond belief. But this is your Democrat Party. $80,000 for his wife's office on taxpayer dime, and has a nerve to cop an attitude when he's asked about it. Asking me about a damn desk. I'm the mayor. I spend the money I want to spend. Our commitment to invest in people, to invest in my wife, and happy wife, happy life. Okay, let's get to Obama. Where to begin? Well, let's start at the beginning with Obama. Let us talk about, my friends, what Obama said. Soundbite number 2. Obama. Blacks not excited about Kamala.
Is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers.
Whoa. It's more yeah, he said it. Yes, he did. It's more pronounced with the brothers. And then he went on to say that the brothers are not supporting Kamala because they're a bunch of sexist pigs. They're misogynistic. And that's right, he said it. He said, you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I got a problem with that. Because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly, speaking to you black men directly, you brothers, part of it makes me think, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons. And of course, the press, the sycophant press immediately started, on some level, Obama said the quiet part out loud, amplifying a concern that has been subtly mounting among black leaders, supporters, and organizers, that these black brothers, they're not going for Kamala Harris simply because she's a woman. Well, it didn't sit too well with everybody. Let's go to CNN and Nina Turner, who's on the panel. And Nina, by the way, is spokesperson for what's his name, Bernie Sanders. So let's check in with Nina. Go ahead, Carlos.
They need to appeal to the needs of the voters. And so when I was a delegate for President Obama in both of his elections in Ohio, right now the vice president is down 11 points in Ohio, even though I fully expect President Trump to take Ohio as he did twice. But to be down 11 points compared to President Biden, that is a problem. But this other issue I want to bring up is a problem, too. Why are black men being lectured to? Why are black men being belittled in ways that no other voting group? Now, a lot of love for former President Obama, but for him to single out black men is wrong. And some of the black men that I have talked to have their reasons why they want to vote a different way. And even if some of us may not like that, we have to respect it. So unless President Barack Obama is going to go out and lecture every other group of men from other identity groups, my message for Democrats is don't bring it here to black men who, by and large, don't vote much differently from black women.
Yeah. Well, social media. has been lighting up. I have never seen so many black men posting videos. Let's start, Carlos, with the first one that you have from I think it's number 2. Yeah, from today. Number 2. Let's just hear it. Go ahead.
Right now, leaning towards Trump, but I haven't made a decision. I'm also...
Well, we're still looking around for that right one.
Barack.
There it is.
As a native of Chicago that watched your policies not do a single thing for black people, not anything for crime, not anything for a better way of living, it is insulting that you decided to get up here and pander us as black men for not voting for Kamala Harris. You are only voting for Kamala yourself because you have no choice. We both know that deep down inside, you wanted the open convention, but the optics didn't look good. We also both know that there were way better candidates that you guys could have went with for president, but you guys didn't. And so now they bring you out, the big guns, because they need you to come up here and clean up this mess. Because you know what? You are a well-spoken man. Because I can tell you right now that your nominee is not. I can tell you that your nominee doesn't answer questions. Your nominee stutters all the time, and she spits out word salads. And you expect for us to vote for her. I'm black. I'm not stupid.
You are.
I vote for policies. I vote for what's going to allow for my way of living to change. I vote so that everyone can have a chance and continue to be a free thinker and not have censorship. And then you got up here on this stage and insulted every black man in America.
Yes, you did.
And it's not okay. And so now you guys are sitting here and you want us to vote for this administration, who has caused the highest inflation, grocery prices suck, and they let everybody in the border. And if I remember Barack Obama, you were the deporter-in-chief. You deported over 3 million people. And for your nominee to not even be smart enough that when someone asks her a question, what would she do differently than what Joe Biden did, and her to say nothing is even more wild. So before you decide to get up here and attack every single black man on this planet, I want you to take a self-reflection and think about the behaviors that you're doing and that you're trying to put on us because we don't want to vote for Kamala. I want you to really look down deep inside of yourself and say, would you really vote for her if you wasn't a part of the Democratic Party? If it wasn't your job, would you really vote for her? I'm pretty sure you wouldn't. Because the scrutiny that you went through to become president, she hasn't even went through. No one voted for her. At all.
In the
primaries, you guys inserted her. And so now here you come, being the sweeper in chief, to try to clean up the mess. But I got a surprise for you, Barack. We are going to continue to be free thinkers. We're going to continue to fight people who want to censor us. We're going to continue to be the people that we need to be because we are starting to arise. Because I don't like the word woke. We are starting to arise to the occasion where Democrats and conservatives and independents can live freely and prosperous. And you're right, we do need to turn the page because the book that I'm reading right now, if I turn the page based on what Kamala said about her own self, I would be signing up to read the book a little bit longer for 4 more years. And that's not what I want to do.
Boom. These kind of sentiments, some expressed in language that we cannot play on this program, are all over social media today. James Golden, Snerdley, we're going to continue. I have a few words about Obama when we get back, and we'll play some more bites if allowing for time. Lizzie Radabelli is going to be with us.
I did what I had to do.
Yes.
I saw it through.
You did.
Without exemption.
James Golden, Snerdley with you. Keep it right here. It's the Saturday Morning 5.
Each charted course.
Do not.
Each girl was fair.
You know that's Pavarotti. Yes. Pavarotti passed away on this day. I'm looking for the year. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I know. This is Pavarotti and Frank Sinatra. One of the greatest voices in music. Thank you, Carlos. It was 2007. Pavarotti passed away. James Golden, that's right. Luciano Pavarotti. Actually, I got that wrong. He didn't pass away on this day. He was born on this day. It's the heavenly birthday for Pavarotti today. Anyway, we're coming back. Saturday Morning Vibe. Keep it right here. Do not go anywhere.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
You know, folks, that Obama, that boy, I'm telling you, he got something on the ball here. You know, Democrat Party for as long as I can remember, we kept our peoples in check. All right? This goes back way back in American history. We knew how to take care of them people, keep them in check. And Obama here, all Obama doing, ladies and gentlemen, he's just trying to keep some order. Now, we just can't allow these men to think that they got some right to vote the way they want to vote instead of voting on the Democrat Party line. What kind of nonsense is that? I mean, people been getting uppity lately, thinking they can go vote for that orange man. We Democrats, look, I was born in Lynchamville, nice little quiet town, and we knew how to keep them people in, have some nice order in our town. The idea that black people would vote Republican is just abhorrent. And even more abhorrent is the idea that somehow or another we gonna allow black people, especially you black men out there, have you forgotten your roots? Now y'all know y'all supposed to be Democrat. I don't know who put this idea in your head that you have the freedom to select somebody for higher office other than a Democrat. We've been good to you. We've been giving you all the welfare that you want all these years. What happened to my music? Come on now. We've been so nice to all you people for all these years, and y'all turning and talking about you gonna vote for somebody other than Kamala Harris? What's wrong with you? Y'all just be good old Democrats and come on home now. Forget all that nonsense about freedom and liberty and all that stuff. That's not for you. That's for us. That ain't for you. We're Democrats. You just be good little Democrat boys and just vote the way we tell you to vote. And it's just simple. That's all. That's all you got to do. The New York Times President Obama, his admonition to black men is not going well, according to the New York Times. It has risk, and yes, calculated risk. James Golden, Bo Snerdley with you. When former President Barack Obama admonished some black men who said they were not feeling the idea of having a woman as president, some Democrats saw it as an urgent, necessary call to action to voters who desperately needed to push Vice President Kamala Harris to victory. It's amazing. They need you now. They haven't needed you all this time. They've been ignoring you for what? How many decades? But right now, they need you. How about when you needed them? Where were they? I'll tell you where they were. They were allowing 12 million illegal immigrants to enter the country because that's what their focus was on. You were not their focus. Men, particularly black men, but they need you now. Hour number one in the can. Hour number duo coming up. 800-848-9222 is the number to call. James Golden. It's our Saturday morning vibe. Keep it right here. Do not go away. Hour number duo coming right up.
This is the James Golden Show with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Welcome, my friends, to the Saturday Vibe Hour number duo. If you're on hold, thank you for being so patient. We'll get to your calls as soon as we can, which will be pretty soon. If you want to weigh in on anything as we head up the run-up weeks to Election Day, feel free. 800-848-9222. As always, if you are a first-time caller, a new listener to the program, we'd love to hear from you. 800-848, we want to hear from everybody, but especially first-time callers. I want you to feel welcome and just feel, I'll go ahead and call that. 800-848-9222 is the number to reach us. We have coming up in the program later, one of America's most incredible pollsters will join us. His name is Raghavan Mayur. He runs the TIPP poll, which has been accurate in the last 5 presidential cycles. I don't think there's another pollster that can claim that. Dead on accurate in the last 5 presidential cycles. So we're going to speak with Raghavan Mayur coming up in the next hour. Princess Di is not going to join us today. I would just say it's weather related, and I'll leave it like that. Right now, it's time for us to check in with Red Apple Media superstar journalist Lizzie Aradabali. Lizzie, how are you this morning?
I'm doing stellar. How are you doing, Bo?
I am doing, I like that word, Stella, as well. I am doing stellar as well. Yeah, I'm going to go out and break dance a little bit later. I'm so happy.
Well, be careful.
Why should I be careful break dancing?
Well, so there's this story in the news right now about a man who developed what's being called a head spin hole after years of the now Olympic sport of breaking. So he actually first noticed he was losing a bunch of hair in this section of right on top of his head, and then he developed a bump on that same area, and then it also got uncomfortable. There was like a bit of a lesion there, and it was tender to the touch. So doctors went in, they performed surgery on this guy, and they got rid of the quote-unquote breakdance bulge that was on his head.
So now he has a hole in his head.
Now he has. Well, so originally what was happening was there was this thickening of his skull, actually, where he does these head spins. Wait
a minute. So the guy would do these head spins, and all of a sudden his skull started growing new skull.
Yes.
So that he'd have enough skull to do the move.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it was like building up. I mean, you think about it, you're on top of your head, spinning on your head. And this guy, he was pretty young. He was in his early 30s, but he says he had been practicing head spins for more than 19 years. So more than half of his life, he was training about 5 times a week for around 2 hours a time, and 2 to like 7 of those minutes in those practice sessions, they were spent head spinning on his skull that was thickening up to deal with this kind of stress that he's put on. And also notably, research, not really. There's not a lot of research.
There's not a lot of research
on the breakdance bulge phenomenon, but apparently that it is pretty common for breakdancers to get hair loss and bumps.
We need warning labels. We need a warning label.
Headspin at your own risk, because you could end up getting so the numbers, they break down 60% of breakers have gotten some head injury. 31% of those say they experience some hair loss, 24% developed those bumps, and 37% had just general scalp inflammation. So, it's not really good for you, I guess, in the long run of things, but it does look fun. I mean, head spins are really cool. I was actually watching a guy do some on the subway yesterday, and it was impressive. I mean, to do it on a moving train.
Wait a minute. There's a guy, you're on a subway in New York, and there's a guy on the subway on the subway itself, or
yes,
in
the train where
in the train,
and that's what I'm saying.
Break dancing in the train.
Yes, moving train. New Yorkers know that sometimes some people will come into a subway car and just clap. They'll have a big speaker and they'll say "Showtime," and then they just start performing. And this guy started performing. He did the usual gymnastics on the subway poles. He does like flips around and
pole dancer on the way to work. Let's watch him. I couldn't think of a better way to commute to work than watching a male pole dancer in a subway in New York.
Honestly, I enjoy it. I'm not one of those New Yorkers who like puts their head down and like rolls their eyes. I kind of enjoy it. I think that it is so New York that people, it's just like the true spirit of the city that people, no matter what their circumstances are, they're really positive. I do have to say, all the time whenever I see these guys come on the subway, they like always end their little routines. I mean, granted, they're of course also asking for money, but they always end it on like a really positive note. They say like, spread positivity, be good to each other. They always say something along those lines. So I enjoy those guys. I don't subscribe to the idea that those guys are bad people or that they're a nuisance to the city. I think it's impressive to do a head spin on a moving train. I can't do that. I can't do that after probably 10 years of training. So really impressive.
I wouldn't want to. Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean,
anyway.
I wouldn't want to now that we know the news of a head spin hole. I mean, I wouldn't want to do a head spin probably ever, but, still a really cool skill. I respect it. I have to respect it.
Okay, speaking of cool skills, this story you sent me, this tech story, is pretty freaking amazing. We have a lot of this story. Musician arrested after using AI songs and a bot army to scam Spotify for millions of dollars. Tell us about this story. This is fun.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of musician friends, and I know that this is something that would probably make them see red, make their heads explode. So this guy, army of bots is an understatement. He created hundreds of thousands of songs that, was automatically generated through some sort of AI service, whether it's ChatGPT or, there's a billion of those out there now, these generative AI systems that can create and produce a full song. So he created hundreds of these and put them up on streaming. And then wasn't enough to just create fake songs. You got to create the fake streams. You got to get the fake listeners. And he made a network of bots listening to his songs around 600,000 streams a day. So more than 500,000 streams.
Grief.
This was an army of bots. So, to pull 500,000 streams every single day on his music. And I just want to know, for the listeners who aren't really sure about how, the revenues with Spotify work, for every 1,000 streams, the artist gets $4 for every 1,000 streams. So this guy, he raked in $10 million in streaming royalties. So, I'm not going to sit here and run the numbers, but yeah, he really, made this army of bots do his bidding to rake in millions of dollars, and now he's being hit with a bunch of fraud charges.
Well, I don't know what he did that was fraudulent.
Well,
I mean, he created. This is going to be an interesting case. Please keep us informed about this case.
Yeah, I mean, what he did is illegal in the sense that he created fake accounts and, spread them around to make it look like
he may have. Okay, so he violated their terms of service.
Yeah,
so they may
defrauded.
Get him on that.
Exactly, he defrauded, Spotify's terms of service, and he also, Southern District of New York is looking at this, and
the feds.
The FBI. I mean, he's been charged with wire fraud, conspiracy, wire fraud, and money laundering. Because, this is, at the end of the day, this is money laundering. He's just creating a bunch of fake listeners to listen to his fake songs and then pulling in real money from that, pulling out of, money from these companies that could be going to actual artists who are making actual songs.
Now that you mentioned that, you bring me to the point that I just want to make. $4 for how many streams?
1,000.
Every 1,000 streams?
Yes.
Let me tell you something. Musicians are being totally, when I say, oh, man, let me just put it like this. A lot of very well-known artists are complaining about the way that these music services are not paying them for the work that they produce. So I'll just leave it at that.
No, and that is a real thing. I mean, I know a lot of my artist friends, they say that they've been, taking all these shortcuts, like making their songs shorter, less than like 2 minutes or 1:30, just so that they could get more streams because, there's some sort of signs in the algorithm that shorter songs do better or just generally rake in more streams because they're short. So, a lot of artists are trying to figure out like shortcuts around, being completely ripped off by these streaming companies. And then meanwhile, the streaming companies are getting ripped off themselves by these people who are just getting around all these, fraud detection systems that they already have in place. I mean, Spotify has a way to kind of make sure that the listener is not a bot because, if you think about it, this sets a precedent for every record company that now they can just kind of, mess with the numbers and, they could essentially Atlantic Records could create their own army of bots and stream in mass whoever they want in under their labels.
Don't give them ideas, Lizzie.
But that is the that's the next steps. If one individual gets away with it, then the corporations will take note and they'll also do that sort of behavior, and then it's just going to be flooded. I mean, every streaming
circle.
Yeah, and the streaming platforms are going to just be flooded with AI slop that is just not, you can't listen to it. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens with this case. I want to see this guy in prison. Honestly, he faces 20 years for each of those charges. Once again, 3 different charges there: conspiracy, wire fraud, and money laundering. So he could be in prison for the rest of his life.
Wow. Lizzie, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Always interesting things that you find. James Golden. Thank you, Lizzie.
Thank you.
A.K.A. Snerdley. 1935, Sam Moore. Lead singer Sam and Dave. Born on this day. James Golden, Snerdley with you. Saturday Morning Vibe. Coming back right after this. Don't go away.
This is the James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. 4 words that mean business with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
No New Year's Day to celebrate.
Well, on this day, actually, tomorrow's the anniversary. Stevie starts 3 weeks at number 1 on the United States singles charts with this one of his biggest hits, I Just Called to Say I Love You. Speaking of calls, let's check in with the telephones. Eddie from Staten Island in New York is calling in. Good morning, Eddie. How are you?
Good morning, James. James, you are like the best thing on Saturday morning, for sure. And I love you, man.
Thank you.
3 things. Oh, no problem. 3 things right away that come to mind. First of all, about Obama. I felt he was condescending, making me feel as a black man that I don't know how to think for myself. You know, I got news for Obama. I'm a business manager in Manhattan across the street from Stuyvesant Town. Many people that I know, Spanish and blacks, are going to vote for Trump. And, you know, I'll even say it in Spanish. Voten para Presidente Trump. The reason? Because he's the one that's going to get us out of this mess. Second, for the people of North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia, remember one thing about President Trump. He's a builder. He's going to help you rebuild your entire society. And I'll tell you something else about Obama. He reminds me about that black slave in Django that would always protect his master's house. We're not slaves anymore. We're free-thinking men, and we're not accepting this nonsense. You know, a lot of the migrants that I work with as a business manager work for Uber or DoorDash, and, you know, they speak French and Spanish and all of that, and the way I communicate with them is through the pictures on their phone when they pick up deliveries. I feel for them, but in this country, people have to come in the right way. I have a feeling some migrants will be staying, but it's like President Trump said. Many of the illegal aliens that are here committing crimes and disrupting our society have to be dealt with, and President Trump is the man to do it.
Wow. You have said a mouthful there, Eddie. I want to talk for a minute about Obama, and I'm glad you gave me the opening too. The thing that I think is to me most distressing is that Obama had a chance. He truly had a chance to be one of the greatest presidents in American history. Why do I say that? Obama came in with goodwill that is rarely afforded a president. Even people that did not vote for him, because of the historic nature of having America elect a black guy, there were so many people who said, you know what, I want this guy to succeed at what he's doing. They were willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. And what did he do when he got in office? All of the things that he campaigned on, this idea of bringing hope to the country, changing it, well, there was change, but it wasn't the change that people wanted. Let me just give you one example. Obamacare, which is his lasting legacy. Obamacare could have been something monumental if he had done one simple thing: accepted input from the opposition party. If he had honestly said, listen, America's healthcare system, we all know this, needs some kind of reform, but I'm not just going to go political with my side of the aisle to come up with what those reforms should be. I want to address this in a way that will actually work for the country, not for my party. Had he done that and ushered in real reforms, and he could have, because he came in with such a quote-unquote mandate, he could have convinced his party that the way to go was to come up with solutions to health care that may have included things that they don't like, but that would have benefited the country. For instance, dealing with the legal morass that surrounds malpractice, insurance across state lines to lower the cost, things like that Republicans offered up that are sound economic ideas. That's just one example. There was an opportunity for Obama to do things in a big way. We had a previous caller that said he deported 3 million people. Obama could have pushed through a true immigration reform bill that would have actually secured the borders. But he didn't. He ignored the entire immigration issue in his entire presidency. Wouldn't handle it. He could have brought structural reform to the budget process in this country. There are so many things that he could have done because he came in with the mandate. Instead, what did he do? He pretended to be a centrist when he was running for office, and then he governed like a radical leftist, pleasing his left and his left only. And that is his legacy. He missed an opportunity to truly become a statesman president instead of a Democrat political president. And he blew it. And now he's blowing it even further by alienating so many people. James Golden, Saturday Morning Vibe. Keep it right here. Your calls are welcome. We're going to take more of them.
The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Born today, heavenly birthday, Melvin Franklin, one of the 5 original Temptations. Of course, this is their first smash hit. Melvin passed away in 1995. This one co-written by Smokey Robinson, incidentally. David Ruffin on lead. Oh, man, the 5 original Temptations. David Ruffin, Eddie Kendricks, Melvin Franklin, Otis, and Paul. The Temptations. James Golden, Bo Snerdley with our Saturday Morning Vibe, 800-848-9222. Heading back. Before we head back to the phones, Dr. Peter Miklas, who was with us last week, so brilliant. He is amazing, and he's going to be joining us from time to time. He just blows my mind with health information, medical information, breakthroughs in medical sciences. He sent me a text about Obamacare and made some great points about some of the issues that could have been addressed. For instance, the deductibles. And the $5,000 deductibles on Obamacare turned a lot of doctors' offices into collection agencies. It destroyed the credit of a lot of the younger generation to deal with their health care. Those are just a few of the things. Doctors were left out of the decision-making process. Imagine you're doing health care reform and the people who don't have input on a major piece of health care legislation are the doctors who actually deliver the health care service to the American people. Their input was put aside in all of this. And what doctors really needed in order to move America's health care system ahead. That's just one failure of the Obama administration that we're still dealing with. As I said, you look at all the things that he could have done and would have got support from, even from some of his political adversaries, if he had entered into it with the true spirit of, I want to accomplish great things for the American people. And that, by the way, is a lot of the reason that people are turning to Trump. They see what happens when somebody says they're going to do something for the American people and they actually do it. And that is what Obama does not seem to understand with his upbraiding, especially of black men, for not being in the pocket of the Democrat Party. Let's go to Pennsylvania and check in with Gail. How are you? Welcome.
James, you're making such excellent points. And I think if we had an honest media, a lot of this would have come out and could have been corrected to this day. And so why do the legacy media brazenly promote these Democrats and dehumanize President Trump? Well, I believe that the owners, CEOs of this legacy media are Democrat crony communist billionaires, not capitalists. And they operate these global conglomerates who buy media in order to promote their mainly Democrat-bought politicians. And I think that these power addicts want to be a sort of global central planning group. And they want to make loads of expensive regulations, such as carbon taxes, a la climate change, that their small business competitors cannot afford. And these power-addicted CEOs, for example, ABC is owned by Disney International, MSNBC, NBC, Comcast, Time Warner. CBS is owned by Paramount Global, CNN, and that's owned AT&T. So it's disgusting.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that has raised its head in a way that's not going back. The bias that we have seen this presidential cycle, and it extends beyond the electronic media. You have to look at the print media, too. What they have done and what they are doing is so blatant that many American people are they are turning away from it. I think Donald Trump was very wise not to do a second debate after what we saw out of the debates from both ABC and CBS. They were horrid in terms of journalism. What you see every day, I cited some stories in the opening hour of the show. Trump blames immigrant surge for housing. Most economists disagree. The New York Times hasn't questioned most economists. This is their opinion. This is the opinion that they want to use as propaganda. AP, data shows migrants aren't taking black jobs or Hispanic jobs despite what Trump says. Really? The data can say anything you want data to say. When you have 20 million illegal immigrants on top of that, you add another 11 million in 4 years to 12 million. We're looking at perhaps anywhere from 30 to 35 million illegal immigrants in this country. How anybody in the world can expect to think that this has no impact on jobs in America is ludicrous. I won't even buy these premises that these people put out. It is a total dishonest and corrupt media, but thankfully, there are other media outlets that are growing. Half the country doesn't even, I think, pay much attention to what some of these outlets are publishing, which is why some of them are themselves now, especially on the newspaper side, in such deep trouble financially. Gail, you make some brilliant points. Thank you. I appreciate it. Joan in Yonkers, how are you this morning?
Morning, Mr. Golden. I've always listened, but this is the first time I'm calling, and if I stop to cough, I'm a little bit under the weather, but I just wanted to stick my 2 cents in, if you don't mind, about
Absolutely.
former President Obama's remarks. In the first instance, I said, well, I would be insulted if I were an African-American man, but he's a super intelligent man, President Obama, and he knows she's not a good candidate. I think he was dragged kicking and screaming into doing this. I think, if I remember correctly, I think he wanted the former astronaut Mark Kelly to be the candidate for the Democratic Party, And if you remember, I don't think he came out of the gate in the first instance supporting Kamala Harris. I think he, in the long run, underestimated the stupidity of the voters. I think this woman was kind of laughed at for 3.5 years, and now, thanks to stupid white voters, in my opinion, stupid white people who elevated her to the position of running for president of the United States. I think the former president, you want me to do this? This is what I'm going to do. I think maybe he wants to revamp the whole Democrat Party because it's not going in the right direction. I'm a former Democrat. I'm 74. I don't think I'd ever vote for a Democrat again. But I think this is his way of saying, you want me to do this? This is what I'm going to do. I don't know any African Americans or Hispanics who say that I will not vote for someone because I hate them, or I'll vote for Biden in a coffin before I'll vote for Trump. White people are the only people I know that have that mindset, and that's a shame.
Well, I don't want to do this white people mindset business or black people, and I'll tell you why. I think it's so complicated. People have reasons for voting for the candidate of their choice, and for instance, look, if I were a Democrat, for instance, forbid that. And all I got my news from was the mainstream press, which many of them do, I would have such a negative opinion of Donald Trump and be fearful of what he would do if that's the only media that I was exposed to. I don't think that people are necessarily stupid to make the choices. I think that in some cases they're misinformed because they're not getting or seeking out a different narrative than the one that they are exposed to. That's the first thing. But I think you, Joan, have raised such an interesting point. What if Obama really doesn't want Kamala to win? There is, and Princess Di has talked about this, when she rejoins us, hopefully next week, I hope that there's some time that we can talk about this, because the Obamas were behind the scenes in everything that took place in the elevation of Kamala Harris. And apparently they may have been thwarted with what they wanted to happen when Joe Biden quickly endorsed her on the way out the door. They were all moaning for some sort of open convention. And if there were a true open convention, Kamala Harris might not be their nominee. So interesting. Now, Newt Gingrich, by the way, had something to say about this as well. It's not quite the same, but he's talking about Joe Biden. Listen to this, and when he gets to the end of it, you'll understand what I mean.
My guess is that we're in the early stages of watching her collapse, and that given the objective, larger realities that surround her. One last comment, which I know you wrote me back about today. My hunch as a historian and occasional novelist is that sometime in the last 2 weeks, Joe and Jill looked at each other and thought, wouldn't it be a great legacy if Joe's the only guy ever to beat Trump? And I think the stuff he's done to undermine her in the last 10 days is pretty amazing, and I don't think it's an accident.
Joe Biden has been undermining Kamala Harris. He's been stepping on her message. He's been making sure, despite her trying to distance from him when she's intellectually capable enough to do that and not dumbfounded by a question, she was actively trying to distance herself from him. And he made sure to come right out and say, oh, no. She had a decision in everything I did. And Newt is seeing something different. So, Joan, great thought there. Thank you. Appreciate the call. Hope to hear from you again. Love first time. Thank you. First time callers, always welcome. Don't be shy. Pick up the phone. Give us a call. Let's head over to New Jersey and speak with Andrew. Andrew, Bo Snerdley's, it is the Saturday Morning Vibe. Welcome. How are you?
Yeah, just quick on Obama with Kamala. Maybe Michelle doesn't like Kamala because possibly she was a mistress or, of Barack. But I think I hear in his voice
Wait. What evidence do you have that Obama and Kamala had a relationship like that?
I saw him on video when she spoke, and he was in the crowd, or he introduced her, and he was like, "She's the prettiest DA," and he was real.
That's proof of a relationship? Come on, look, I object to a lot of the slander that goes around with people. If there's no evidence that these people had something, look, if you wanted to bring up Willie Brown, I wouldn't say a word, because we know that to be true. But this idea that just because somebody says something or something, they're having an affair with somebody, come on. Let's not go there with people. Let's get to your real point. Okay.
Was that when Obama was saying they have similar experience, African-American men, with Kamala first, she's not African-American. She comes from Canada, and she is not descendant of slaves. She's descendant of slaveholders. So when she lived in Canada in an affluent neighborhood, from her ancestors, her grandparents, she has generational wealth that actually comes from enslavement of black men. So you couldn't get any more different than that.
One point that you made, and I will just offer a brief correction. She was not born in Canada. Yes, she was educated for a portion of her childhood life, a big portion in Canada. Went to school, I believe, in Montreal. So, yes, but let's again stay factual. She was born in the United States. She's not a Canadian. She grew up part of her childhood in Canada. What you say about the generational history of the Harris family? Well, that's true. Yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. What bearing it has on today? James Golden, a.k.a. the Beatles. James Golden. It's our Saturday morning vibe. 800-848-9222. Keep it right here.
This is in for the Ed Sullivan Show, because before they went there for the first time, this song was licked, and then Capitol Records had to release it like sooner.
Boom. And why Ed Sullivan? Glad you mentioned that, Carlos, because this is the anniversary of Ed Sullivan's passing away. And Ed Sullivan was perhaps he set the model in America for a variety show on television. A giant. The Ed Sullivan Show, one of the most successful shows. And when the Beatles came, they drew on that show about 73 million people watched the show that night. Sunday night, Ed Sullivan, James Golden, Snerdley, keep it right here.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Hard to believe it was 1979. This weekend, 1979, MJ jumps to the number one position on U.S. singles charts with this one. It was only his second solo number one. But boy, did this start the landslide. Don't stop till you get enough. Michael Jackson. James Golden, Snerdley with you. It's our Saturday morning vibe. Head back to the telephones. Let's go to, is it Sergeant in New Jersey? How are you?
Great. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. What's on your mind this morning?
I would like to point out to people who aren't aware of it that Monday, October 14th, is the 250th anniversary of the passing by the First Continental Congress of the Declaration of Rights. And that's something that has been ignored or suppressed in the last century or two. And it declares that the people of the 13 colonies possess all sorts of rights and that these rights cannot be taken from them. And it includes the rights of self-government, the rights to trial by jury, the rights to the common law, the rights to the maintenance of their own courts, and various other things. And it has been described as the Declaration of the Rights for which the American people went to war. If you consult Joseph Story on the Constitution, you'll find that's what he says. And before the Civil War, that was what was commonly understood. There are reasons you could see why it was suppressed for political reasons.
Well, I don't know whether it was suppressed. Those are the foundations of what would later become the rights that were enshrined in two things. Number one, the Declaration of Independence, and then subsequently the Bill of Rights, which covered most of those. And, of course, the Continental Congress, by that point, had been absolved. So I don't know whether it's suppressed or is just another one of the things in American history that's not taught. But let me just say to you, and I so appreciate you bringing it up, that the foundation for that even was due to what? The Magna Carta. And one of the things that interests me the most in history is the importance of the Magna Carta to every aspect of American, quote unquote, democracy. Without the Magna Carta, these things that you were talking about, these expressions that were codified by the Continental Congress and then later on by our Constitution, which, by the way, is the oldest Constitution still in force of any nation in the world, which is stunning. But none of that, would you agree, Sergeant, would be possible without the Magna Carta?
I completely agree, and that's why the importance of the common law. The common law includes the Magna Carta, and the Magna Carta has rights to personal liberty, which are not respected today. The rights include mostly, and most importantly, that you can't be imprisoned without being convicted of a crime, and we've seen how that's been treated. And you've seen how unfair trials have been held, and the Declaration of Rights talks about the rights of an individual to the law, and we do not have that anymore. And people call it the rule of law, and in a way that's what it is. We do not have the rule of law, and this is what we're guaranteed. Also, the Declaration of Independence, reread it. It doesn't have an enumeration of rights.
I understand that, and that's why the Bill of Rights was necessary. Sadly, the music stops us. Love speaking with you, and I hope that we have a chance to continue this conversation. Our number duo in the can. Our number trio coming up. James Golden, the Saturday Morning Vibe. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. 800-848-9222. Stay with us. Coming right back.
The James Golden Show is on the air with James Golden. a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Welcome, my friends, to our number trio. It is the Saturday Vibe. You are welcome. Your telephone calls, of course, 800-848-9222 is how you reach us, 800-848-9222. Joining us now, this is a treat. He has become a very dear friend and also an educator for me in the business of polling, and deservedly so. For the last 5 presidential cycles, his organization has called it right. Not 4 out of 5, not 5 out of the last 5. Called it right. He's the person that I turn to when I need to have things explained to me that are going on in the polls. In fact, we did a podcast together, which you can find, Red Apple Podcast. You can find it. And explain to me what a question that I'm going to ask him to explain to you, which is how we should look at national polling and what it means in this election that's coming up very soon. The TIPP poll, Technometrica Institute of Policy and Politics poll, TIPP, headed by Raghavan Mayur, my dear friend. I call him Mayur. Mayur, how are you this morning?
Good morning, sir. Wonderful. I've been up from 3 o'clock working.
Oh, yes. It starts early, especially in these seasons. Mayur, thank you for joining us. Let's first go. You have called it right when so many others have not been as accurate. Without getting into anything that would be, private, how have you been able to do this? How have you been able to call each one of these election cycles right?
Well, it's a team effort, and also I'm not that much influenced by partisan politics, if you will, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't let my biases creep in, knowingly or unknowingly, possibly.
Right. So keep the political biases out of the way, and that goes to the way even questions are framed. So you're very careful, I take, in the way that you frame the questions that you want answers for.
Yeah, it's also, it's when you see glass half full, you could look at it, the glass half empty as well. So it depends on how the same situation or the same data, 2 people could see it in 2 different ways. So if you live in a newsroom where everybody is a Democratic supporter, you are influenced unconsciously or subconsciously by the environment to see it in a particular way. You get what I mean?
Got it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you now, where do we stand? Here we are, weeks before the election. Let's go first talk about where it stands nationally, and then I want to drill down into some of these battleground states.
Yeah.
Overall, where do we stand?
Overall, things have tightened up, nationally. Kamala got a bounce after the convention and stuff, and they were keeping her, with limited appearances and scripted appearances. That bounce has faded away, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, nationally, she leads by 1.8, which means it is very, very, very tight. Okay, the reason being that just for 2 things I want to tell you. One is on the same day in 2020, that is today, Biden was leading by 10 points.
Whoa.
in 2016, Clinton was leading by 6 points. And
wait a minute. So wait. Let me just get this. I'm taking notes. So on this same day, we go back. Biden was leading Trump by, you said, 10 points.
Yeah.
And the same day, going back to the Hillary-Trump matchup, Hillary was leading in the national polls by 6 points.
Yeah, exactly.
And today, Kamala is leading in the national polls by 1.6 points, you said, which is within the margin of error, isn't it?
1.8, within the margin of error. 1.8.
Which means that could be either side. That could be what, plus or minus 3. Maybe exactly. Trump is leading.
Yeah, exactly. Huh? Now, a couple of points I want to mention. This is notwithstanding the fact that typically, if you look at any national poll, you as a Republican or the Trump side, you would expect. I would have expected. Typically, I expect about a lead of 3 points by Harris. Okay, the reason being that Democrats have the advantage in the popular vote from California and New York, which are large states.
Mm-hmm.
So they come to the table with that advantage on the popular vote,
right?
Which is compensated by only Texas. Okay, so to give you two examples. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 3 points, but lost to Trump by about 100,000 votes in the battleground states. And in 2020, Biden won by 4 points in the popular vote, but had Trump managed about 45,000 votes in 3 battleground states, he would have won.
Wow.
So looking at it, it's a very nice position Trump is in right now, or vice versa. It's not a great position Harris is in.
Which may explain some of the reason that they're panicking. And they sent Obama to try to corral the black male vote because they're looking at the margins. And they're looking if they don't these same kind of numbers where 45,000 votes in a few states could make the difference between her winning and losing that state. Is this the reason that they're sending out Obama to try to shore up black male votes and male votes in general?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you know what? The way I was thinking about before I came on your show, the key message I have for Republicans is that they shouldn't slack off.
Right.
Okay. They shouldn't become too complacent that they are in a great position right now. It's Trump's to lose. Okay.
Wow.
But the turnout, you know, is really important. And, you know, that's even in the betting odds, Trump is up 53.7 to 44.9.
Whoa. Wait a minute. The bettors are... Trump is up how much?
53.7 to 44.9.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So everything's changed in the last 10 days, slowly, you know.
What? Whoa! Everything changed in the last 10 days. What are the drivers for that change in the last 10 days?
I think one of the things maybe, you know, the hurricanes.
Right.
Yeah. How you know, people were witnessing how you know, how bad the government helped in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the other thing is also, it's so strange. The more people see Kamala, she appeared in several of these interviews, Howard Stern, some daddy.
She did the 60
podcast.
Minutes piece.
Yes.
She did,
Yeah.
And Telemundo, etc.
Yeah. So that's not helping her, That's not moving the needle for her.
So the more people see her, if I'm going to translate this correctly, the more people see her, the more they don't like her. Is kind of what you're saying here. Without saying,
I won't say maybe I would say that basically it doesn't move the needle. So I won't say whether they dislike her, but she doesn't bring enough to move like what you said. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
But that does not
I'll say it.
That does not necessarily mean they dislike her, but it doesn't move them positively with confidence towards her, because she doesn't come across being authentic. Okay, that's
She doesn't come across as being authentic. Myra, I want you to hold on. I want to go through and walk through what these battleground states are, what they mean when we get back.
Sure.
Okay, James Golden, a.k.a. Snerdley, with us today, one of the top pollsters in the United States of America. As I've said, this is a difficult feat. For the last 5 presidential cycles, the TIPP polls have gotten it right. Technometrica Institute of Policy and Politics. And with us, Raghavan Mayur from TIP, explaining where we are in the polling. Oh, yes. 1979. Regata de Blanc comes out. The Police. This is the big hit. Winter #1. Message in a Bottle. 1979. This weekend. James Golden, the Saturday Morning Vibe. Keep it right here.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
He was born in the summer of his 27th year, coming home.
1997, on this day, music world suffered a big loss. John Denver was killed when a handmade experimental plane that he was flying ran out of gas and then crashed. Yes, Carlos. What? Speak up. Yeah. It was one of these, let's make a plane. Here's the plane kit, let's make a plane. I don't know whether he made it, but he was in it. It was one of the these light experimental aircrafts. Yeah, it made the aircraft. Somebody didn't put enough gas in it. Yeah, and Rocky Mountains off the coast of Monterey Bay, California. That was that. 53 years old. John Denver passes away this day, 1997. No fear of flying. James Golden, a.k.a. Snerdley, with you here. It is the Saturday Morning Vibe. With me is Raghavan Mayur, who is with TIPP polling. They have been accurate in the last 5 presidential cycles. Let me talk with you about battleground states. People hear this term all the time, the battleground states, the battleground states. What are they, and how is the election going in those states?
So, as you know, the election will be decided on the basis of electoral votes, not the popular votes.
Right.
So, what happens is that in the battleground states are the states where the race is the closest. For example, California and New York wouldn't be battlegrounds because they are what you call, quote unquote, blue states, where Harris will win 60 to Trump 40. Okay? So in battleground states, the fight is taken to another level, if you will, where it is within 3-4 points, the race, the closest that you can imagine. So there are 7 states in this election, which are the battlegrounds, which will define the outcome. And the 7 states are, within the 7 states, you can group them into 2 categories. One, what quote unquote, the blue wall states, which are Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, or also the Rust Belt states. The other group is the Sun Belt states, which are Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and Nevada. So these 7 states, they're going to determine the outcome. And within the 7 states, there are, like, for example, if you take Pennsylvania or Wisconsin, there are specific counties which can swing and decide the outcome of that particular state. Now, all these 7 states, they're like, 7 different children, for example. Like, or you can say it's like they're like your fingers. No, not all of them are same. Okay, each state has got its own personality. So when you're polling in each of the states, you have to adjust yourself to understand what's going on in the state to some extent. Like, for example, Wisconsin is a very great example because typically Trump will overperform than the polls by 5-6 points in Wisconsin. He has done that in the past 2 election cycles. Okay, so why is that? Because I feel that in Wisconsin, there are more silent Trump supporters than any other battleground state.
There are people in Wisconsin, if I'm hearing this right, who are so intimidated to say, I vote for Trump, they'll just remain silent, won't answer questions, not even to pollsters. But when it comes to voting, they'll come out and that's when they will state their choice. It's Trump, and that's why he overperforms.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons, possibly. Yeah.
Right.
You can attribute for his overperformance. But the same dynamic may not happen, say, for example, in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, generally, the polls have been good in the past 2 election cycles.
And what are the polls showing right now in Pennsylvania?
Let's start with overall first. Among the 7 battleground states, as of today, he is leading in 6 of them under a percentage. Yeah.
We have to stop right there for a hard break. I want you to hold on. This is as we go.
Sure.
Of the 7 battleground states, as of today, Trump is leading in 6 of them.
Yeah.
Well, hang on.
On average.
Hang on, folks. Thriller. James Golden, a.k.a. Snerdley, coming back. Your telephone call is going to be part of it, and we're going to wrap it up with Mayor and the election forecast thus far. Stay with us.
The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
This weekend, in fact, tomorrow is the birthday of Paul Simon. Singer-songwriter, part of the duo, of course, Simon and Garfunkel. So many hits with them before he went on solo career. This is one of his big ones from 1986. Paul Simon, happy birthday. You can call me Al. James Golden, you can call me Bo. You can call it 800-8489-222. With Raghavan Mayor. Mayor, let me just ask you this, okay? You said Trump is leading so far, on average, in 6 of the 7 battleground states. Explain what that means to us, please.
Yeah. So, as we were talking in the previous segment, there are 7 battleground states: Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, which are the blue wall states, and Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and Nevada, which are the Sun Belt states. Now, within the 7 states, he is leading in 6 of them under a point.
Ooh.
Except for Wisconsin, where Harris is leading.
Okay, and Wisconsin is the state that Donald Trump underperforms in, as you also said, usually.
Yes.
Historically.
So I'm not so worried about Wisconsin because within this margin, he tends to overperform typically. So I'm not really worried about Wisconsin right now. For example, last election cycle, Biden was leading in the final polls in Wisconsin by 6.5 points, but ended up with 0.7. Okay.
Wow. Won the state with less than a point.
Yeah. From 7 points to that. Okay. And now, if you look at Clinton in 2016, she was leading by 6.5 points in the final, on average, in Wisconsin. But Trump went on to take Wisconsin with 0.7% margin.
Wow. So that is always a tight state, and it may come down to another one that's underneath the point that decides Wisconsin.
So Wisconsin, if Trump typically, if he continues to perform as good as he did in 2016 and 2020, vis-a-vis, in comparison to the polls, he will carry Wisconsin.
Okay. How about Pennsylvania? What are things looking like in Pennsylvania?
Yes. So one of the things that really was very good last week was the change in the tone in Pennsylvania. Okay. That is, Harris was leading in Pennsylvania, but there were 3 polls that showed Trump up in Pennsylvania, including one of ours. And that moved Trump in the positive column in Pennsylvania. Just now I see a New York Times poll that has come out that shows Harris up by 3. And but still, on average, Trump is up by 1/10 of a point in Pennsylvania, which is the mother of the battleground, if you will. If Trump can take Pennsylvania, the election is over.
Wow.
And I think he has especially given all these assassination attempts and the rallies and everything, and the issues and the non-selection of the governor as the VP candidate and fracking and other stuff, and also the union stuff, plus Joe Biden. Joe Biden had a connection in Pennsylvania, and the Catholics in Pennsylvania, especially the Scranton corridor, I don't think they're so much enchanted by Ms. Harris. So all these things contribute to tightening of the race in Pennsylvania.
North Carolina is interesting to me. Mark Robinson is tanking in that state. There have been some very serious allegations, and I don't know whether he's addressed them to the concerns of the voters there. His poll numbers have tanked, but yet Trump is not tanking in North Carolina. Do you see this as a potential split where we have the presidential candidate could win in North Carolina, yet the Republican on the ticket for governor could lose?
Yes. I think, Trump has won North Carolina both 2016 and 2020, right? And among the polls that I have done in battleground states, North Carolina is one of the states that I have very high conviction that Trump will carry without any problem. But some pundits have been saying recently that the hurricane might have affected the rural areas where there are many Trump voters, and that may lower the turnout of Republicans in the rural counties. But I don't buy that. I think by the time the election is over, they would find some way or the other, to make sure that they cast their vote. Go ahead.
I just want to ask you, because we're running out of time, I just want to ask you one more question, Mayur. You said Pennsylvania is the mother of all the battleground states. Trump pulls that off, he wins.
Yeah.
What's going on with Michigan?
Well, Michigan, again, it's got its own personality. He is, if you look at the Trump-Harris margin among the battleground states, it's the highest in Michigan right now. Trump leads by 9/10 of a point in Michigan. And, there are so many other dynamics that's going on. One is the union thing. As you know, the Teamsters Union.
Right.
Yeah. The second thing is the Israel-Hamas conflict. Many of the Muslims are not very happy with the way Kamala Harris has talked about or handled, the Biden administration has handled. And they would, some of them are saying that they're going to vote for Jill Stein, as well.
Ooh. So Jill Stein might actually be a factor in Michigan.
I think she could be a factor in Michigan and Wisconsin, but it's a very, very small thing. But every vote counts, Even if she pulls 20,000 votes, that counts, So
wow.
That is the
and very
dynamic.
Quickly, Arizona is. You said Arizona is still tight. There was a debate. Half a point for who?
Trump is leading by half a point. He's leading by
half a point in Arizona.
Half a point in Georgia and half a point in North Carolina.
Wow.
The only state that Harris is leading is in Wisconsin, 0.3 of a point.
No wonder they're starting to panic.
Well, the only
if Trump, the Democrats seem to be panicking, pressing the panic button. I've seen a number of stories about that because of, I guess, the closeness in places like Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada is, from what I understand, Trump is pretty much looking pretty solid in Nevada. Is that accurate?
He is leading by 0.2 of a point, but the thing is,
that's
it's
not
so close.
Much.
Yeah, but he's leading. That itself is a good news. The only thing is, all I can say before I leave is that Republicans shouldn't get complacent. They should make sure they turn out pretty good. They've always done the turnout was good, but because Trump is leading in 6 of the 7 states, it doesn't mean that they can slack off. You get what I mean? The turnout is going.
This is going to be a tight one, and in one of the cycles I remember, I'm having trouble remembering which one it was. It went down. The polling changed even during the last 3 days. It tightened up so much. So I'm going to extend an invitation to you right now to give us a reset just when we're just a day or two away, and let's see what your final forecast is, okay?
Yeah, so the final forecast comes out on the morning of the election day. Okay.
Then we'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll talk that afternoon.
Yeah, and we can talk before the Sunday, too, to see how things are. Okay?
Great.
Myra,
thank you so much, and continued success. Hopefully this will be the 6th presidential cycle that you'll nail right down to the number. Appreciate your time so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Raghavan Mayur, my friends, this is no small feat. 5 presidential cycles, he and his organization have gotten every single one of them right. So I have a lot of confidence in what he says. James Golden, Bo Snerdley with you. Yes, indeed. Maroon 5. Dance Like Jagger. Christina Aguilera's on with this. Yes. Moves Like Jagger. This weekend, it topped the charts. In the top 10. James Golden, Snerdley with you. Your calls, the remainder of the program. Stay right where you are. 800-848-9222. Don't go away.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Hello, yeah, it's been a while.
1976 on this weekend. This one goes to number 2 on the charts.
Not sure why I called. I guess I really just wanted to talk to you. And I was
The birthday today of John Ford Coley. England Dan and John Ford Coley with one of my favorites.
It's been such a long time.
Never get tired of hearing this one, right?
I'm not talking about moving in, and I don't want to change your life. But there's a warm wind blowing the stars around, and I'd really love to see you tonight.
Let's head to the telephones. People have been waiting. We thank you for your patience. Let's go to Michael in Pennsylvania, the battleground state of Pennsylvania. How are you, Michael?
Fine, thank you. Mr. Golden, what a pleasure. I hope I don't lower the tone of your show to take you from statistical accuracy of polling to the subject of bumper music. About 25, maybe 30 years ago, I was flipping the dial, and I got the James and Joel show, which I didn't know about, but I started listening because your bumper song was Stevie Wonder's Superwoman. And I thought, what an unusual choice of bumper music. It was very soft, Fender Rhodes. I don't know if you remember. And I think you're the only person who's ever used that as a bumper
One of my favorite albums. That's the Music of My Mind album, and that is the album where Stevie discovered synthesizers pretty much. There was some stuff before, but that was the album where synthesizers broke, and that actually changed the complexion of music because so many people were influenced by that record. It changed music, the entire genres of music, using the synth.
Absolutely, and he caught lightning in a bottle with that album because, he turned 21, 1971. He was free finally from Motown's control. He goes to New York. He meets those great producers, Malcolm Cecil and Robert Margouleff.
Yep.
And then a year later, we've got Music of My Mind and those great 4 albums in a row.
Yep.
But what I
and Jeff Beck, and don't forget Jeff Beck was on that album, and the next one. Jeff Beck did some nice work on that album.
Talking Book, yes, Looking for Another Love. But have you ever been in the Motown Museum, the studio in Detroit?
Yes, I have. I was in Detroit one day on business for something, and I had a flight to catch. But I said, I am not going all the way to Detroit and leaving here without going by Hitsville, USA. So I made the cab driver go. I didn't spend a lot of time in there, but I spent at least 20 minutes in there, and man, what a treat it was. Michael, I love speaking with you. We have to pick up this conversation at another point. I got so many people on hold. Thank you so much. A brightener for the day. Let's go to the Catskills in New York and check in with Chris. Chris, how are you?
Good morning, James. I was at a Congressman Pat Ryan rally in District 18 in Kingston, New York on Thursday evening, and AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, was there to blow up the crowd. There was agitators, pro-Palestinian, anti-Israeli agitators. One of them made their way inside. They identified her before the event and told her, if you say anything, one word, you're out of here. There was a member of the Secret Service that escorted her out, but she got in a bunch of digs. That type of infighting in the Democratic Party, it's not going to have any effect in New York State. And Pat Ryan's going to win easily. His opponent isn't as strong as he is. But in Michigan, people are going to vote for Jill Stein. And I'll tell you, I'm not voting for any of these people. I'm writing Sherrod Brown in, the Ohio senator. If the Democratic Party have chosen him, he would have beaten Trump very easily. He is a policy-wonk Democrat. He is going to win his Senate reelection race, which is why he didn't run for president, because he's viewed as an integral part to keep that Democratic seat. So Trump's going to win Ohio. The governor of Ohio is going to win, and Sherrod Brown will win by, 4 to 7 points. But he would be the future of the Democratic Party.
Let me just say this to you. If Sherrod Brown is the future of the Democrat Party, the Democrats are in more trouble than you think. Seriously. And we can talk about that another time. I'd love to speak about it with you since you are so engaged and so informed. I really want to find out your thinking on this too, but I got to grab some other calls because time is fleeing. Please call back. Love the call. Thank you. Rick in New Jersey, you're up next.
James, my comment is to Howard Stern. I would rather vote for a wall than Kamala Harris because at least a wall has integrity. A wall doesn't lie to me every day, and a wall doesn't have to sleep with anyone to get a job.
Ooh. Thank you. Bobby in Manhattan, New York, you are up next. Make it quick, my friend. Time is a-fleeing.
Yep, this is really quick. To everybody listening, and I tell my friends and family, if Trump does not get elected, if you hope to retire soon, you can kiss it goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe in New Jersey, you are up next. Hi, Joe.
How you doing, James? James, I wonder if any of your other listeners got the same October surprise I got. 2 days ago in the mail, I got a letter from Social Security saying that they were underpaying me for the last 8 months. That check comes out to $720, and my wife's to $360. And could you imagine, next week on October 16th is when I get that check. 3 weeks before the election.
Do you think there's something going on here?
First thought that came to my mind. And once that check clears, it's going to Samaritan's Purse to help those people in those hurricane-demolished areas.
God bless you. What a generous thing. Joe, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Russ in White Plains, got to make it quick. We're running out of time. How are you, Russ?
Fine, James. James, should rich people pay off the pandemic deficit since rich people benefited most from pandemic spending?
I don't even know how to answer that question. It's such a bizarre premise.
It's true, though. Rich people got most of the benefit from pandemic spending.
I don't know where you're pulling those numbers from. Look, I'll tell you one thing the pandemic did. It didn't discriminate too much, rich, poor, black, white, any other differentiation in the number of people it took out. And we still don't have an answer as to exactly why it happened. And to me, that's the important one. I just want to say this. It is, by the way, folks, Indigenous Peoples Day in some people's calendar. It's Columbus Day. Happy Columbus Day. Happy birthday, Teresa. Happy Columbus Day. Hope you enjoy it. May God bless and protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love, always, and gratitude for your being here and allowing me to be with you. Until next time, I bid you adieu. Bye.